Hey, welcome to another rousing episode of Urban Politics. It's your boy phizz Music coming at you. It's a hot day, but it's a beautiful day for some politics. I got a trusty egg right here. I'm going to run through some stuff real quick. I ain't going to take longer than 5 minutes on any little thing I discuss here because I know your time is valuable. So you got things you got to do today. You got kids and a wife and all that other good stuff. So I'm just going to bring these little news tidbits to you real quick. Within the span of 5 minutes, each thing I talk about. Starting right now. I want to start off talking about stupid studies. Stupid studies. What I mean is, in this country, anytime there's a problem or people think there's an issue, always has to be a stupid study done. And we always have a lot of stupid studies. Like, I was reading what started off, actually, I heard how they did a study here in Columbus, Ohio, right here in Franklin County. And I guess they had deduced that Franklin County Police Department did have a bias against black people. Really? You had to do a study to figure that out? I mean, we've been saying it for years. Richard Pryor used to always make the jokes that, black people would always talk about, the police brutality or whatever. And then, white people, they were resisting arrest. They got what they deserved or whatever. So they did a study here in, my hometown and figured out that, yeah, police actually are targeting black people. Wow, really? Black people have been saying it for years, but you had to do a study to justify it, whatever. I parallel that with another study I was reading because I get into behavioral health, and I've been doing a lot of studying on autism because lately that's been the thing that I've been involved in, working with the autistic community. And I was reading a study where I guess somebody had did oh no, my time ain't up. I'm tripping. Okay, let me keep going. So somebody had did a study. And what they deduced from the study is that women who are experiencing menstrual stress, it could have an impact on their mental illness. Really? You had to do a study on that? You had to do a study to figure out that a woman on her period is probably having an even harder time than she would already with her mental illness if she happens to be mentally ill? That's stupid. Nobody had to tell you that. So it gets on my nerves in this country when there's things that we know for a fact that are going on. Some of this stuff is common sense. Nobody has to tell you, but there always has to be a study done. There always has to be an inquiry, and that leads me into what I'll be talking about later on in the show. But there always has to be a federal inquiry. Why do you need an inquiry? You already know this guy's a criminal. He's already done some criminal acts, but y'all gotta have an inquiry. Hey, you gotta have a bunch of people sit around and deduce the evidence and talk to witnesses and waste a bunch of time. So I think that's just ridiculous. I would love if we could get to a point in this country where things that are common sense are treated as such. We just know that one correlates to the other. You don't have to do a research study on this. You don't have to take up time. You have to go out and ask 100,000 different people how they feel on any different day about such and such. You know what it is. It's right there in front of your face. So when can we get to a point in this country where we don't need all that? We can just say, hey, this is common sense and we're going to act as such and we're going to act upon it. So there's that. Actually, that didn't even take 5 minutes. So we'll go ahead and roll up on that. But let me move to the next thing. Blacks leaving the Democratic Party. I was reading a thing on, and I think it was a Fox News article, and they had talked about that. They said that blacks were leaving the Democratic Party in droves. In droves, I say. That blew me away, and I was like, really? Where'd they come to that at? And I guess they was like, well, seeing as how they were saying that a lot of blacks have come to the conclusion that the Democratic Party hasn't done anything for them, which I don't disagree with, has failed them in a lot of different terms, which I do not disagree with. That's why, I myself bill myself as an independent these days. I ain't a Democrat or a Republican because I vote the candidate. But anyway, they were saying that a lot of black people were leaving the Democratic Party, and they were saying that's why the Democratic Party was all for open borders, which they're not, but whatever. Once again, this was a Fox News article saying that the Democratic Party is for open borders, and that's why they're basically putting their arms around immigrants, because they're saying they're looking for immigrants to fill in the gaps that are being left by these black people that are just fleeing the Democratic Party. I thought that was hilarious when I read it. Why do I think it's hilarious? Black people will never flee the Democratic Party. Black people will vote democratically forever. Forever, ever. It just is what it is. You have old black Democrats like my mother. She's from the South. She grew up in the 60s. She's voting Democrat. You could not persuade her to vote any other way but Democrat. And sometimes I talk to my mom, and I'm like, Mom, do you even know what the Democratic Party is doing right now? My mom was like, yeah, I catch the news here and there. But at the end of the day, my mom is a minister. So, of course, she supports a lot of social stuff. A lot of social issues and stuff like that, of course, she's with. I'm not going to lie, my mom is a minister. She's not necessarily heads over heels about same-sex marriage, but she still rolls with the party, because of JFK, because of civil rights, because of, Lyndon B. Johnson, because he signed civil rights. She's from the South, so, she was around during the Freedom Riders and Emmett Till and all of that horrible stuff you can see in Mississippi Burning and Rosewood and all those other movies that I can't watch because they just get on my skin too tough. But my mom grew up during that. So it doesn't surprise me that she's a Democrat, and she's going to be a Democrat till the day she dies. So there's that. So I don't think, and the Democratic, they know this. They know this for a fact. They understand that they got black people. They just do. And I'm not saying that that's to the good at all, because a lot of times I'm not too happy with the Democratic Party and what they're doing, especially these days. I'm not necessarily head over heels about what they're doing these days. But for whatever reason, they got a stronghold. Well, for some of the reasons I just named, they got a stronghold on the black community, and that's not going nowhere. So they're not looking for immigrants to fill the gaps. If anything, they're looking for immigrants to increase the numbers, and that's real. I hate to admit that. I was reading an article where there was some legislation that was supposed to get passed that was going to make it harder for immigrants to vote, and a whole lot of Democrats were coming out against it. Well, why do you think that is? Because immigrants tend to vote democratically. What do you want? And they know that. And it's just like Chris Matthews said, you'll never get rid of the immigration problem because Democrats want the votes and Republicans and big business want the cheap labor. Cheap labor is the bomb. Always has been. Slavery, that was cheap labor. Well, it was free labor. What's better than that? Getting people to work themselves to death and you get to reap all the benefits. That's what made America the great country that it is. All that free labor they got from us, that slavery. So they don't want to give that up. I mean, right now it's reduced to cheap labor. It ain't the free labor they were getting with us, but it's reduced to cheap labor coming from immigrants, and they want to hold on to that. So as long as the right is interested in that free and cheap labor, and the left is interested in those votes, immigration is going to continue to be an issue that just gets kicked down the road and not dealt with at all. Conveniently not dealt with. They know how to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it because to deal with it is for a lot of people to lose a lot of money. So there it is. Welcome to America. At the end of the day, it's all about the bread. And there's a lot of people who stand to lose a lot of bread if there was a safer and legal path to immigration. There's a safe and legal path to immigration. It exists. There's a few different paths that are safe and legal, I guess. Some more safe than they are legal. Some more legal than they are safe. But if you ever want to see a problem, totally to this immigration thing, it's not going to happen because there's too many people who have a vested interest in the system being like it is. So there's that. Moving on. And see, that didn't even take up our full 5 minutes. It almost did, though. It almost caught me. It ain't catch me, though. All right. What else I want to talk about? I want to talk about our friend Bernie Sanders. If you're feeling the burn, some people feeling the burn, some people ain't feeling it no more. He's annoyed about hearing about the freedom dividend or universal basic income. Let's talk about that. Now, a guy that I like, he's one of the 2020 Democratic candidates, Andrew Yang. He has an idea for, guaranteed government income or universal basic income, or I think now he's calling it the freedom dividend. All of those are good names, but basically what it is he was talking about giving every American over the age of 18 $1,000 a month. I think it's a great idea. People are like, of course you think it's a great idea. It's free money from the government. Well, how about this? Well, actually, let me frame it like this. Okay, so that's a part of his campaign. That's a part of what he wants to do. Bernie Sanders is getting upset because I guess people are coming to his town halls and to some of his meetings, and they're bringing that up to him. And of course, he doesn't agree with that. That's never been a policy of his. That's not anything that Bernie Sanders is probably interested in doing. But I think he should be, because he is a self-proclaimed socialist. Socialism is a redistribution of the wealth. What's more of a redistribution of the wealth than giving every that's getting me again. Than giving every man, woman, every man and woman over the age of 18 in America $1,000 a month. That'd be great. And the reason Andrew Yang wants to do it is because automation is going to take away a lot of jobs anyway. There's going to be a lot of people who have to find something else to do anyway. So with this, that would offset some of that. And then he was saying you get this money and it would help with bills, and maybe you could go out there and chase whatever dream that you wanted to have, and build open your own business or whatever. I agree with all of that. I love this because, like I said, this freedom dividend is a redistribution of the wealth. That's what we've needed in this country. I've gone on record at this show, and I'm going to say it again. The government needs to break bread with the American people. Break bread, man. Give us some money. And that's real. I mean, they take all this money in taxes and all this. They got all these programs or whatever. Screw that. Get right to the heart of the matter and give people some money, because that's what they need out here. And I mean, you got all these different studies and stuff that show how this money would help, how it would help people put money back into the economy through things that they buy, how it would just even help like mental health, because if people weren't stressing about paying bills and all that other stuff because they was getting $1,000 a month, they probably could make some moves and actually chase those dreams that they have. So I feel all of that. Like I said, I think it's a good thing. Bernie Sanders getting tired of hearing about it. Well, I don't know what to tell you, bro. Well, stop being tired. You better get energized. He should hear about it more. Like I said, he's a self-proclaimed socialist. I can't think of a bigger or a better socialist policy right there than literally redistributing the wealth that the government has taken from us. So there's that. I'm gonna move on because I don't want to beat a dead horse. But yeah, I'm with that. But we'll see how Andrew Yang does. He's not one of the top four right now. The top four, if you haven't been paying attention, is Joe Biden, Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, and also Kamala Harris. If you disagree, please drop me a line at phizzmusic@gmail.com. And once again, push back. But I think that right there is the top four. And there's other people I like. Buttigieg, I think he's still got some kind of play in there, but he's not a contender all like that. Like I said, Yang, I love him to death. Sometimes I wonder why he gets as much pub as he does. I thought it was because he's a billionaire, so I was like, he must be paying for some of this, media scrutiny that he's getting and TV time or whatever. Well, not TV time, but media scrutiny. I always see him on the internet and doing different interviews with different outlets. But I really think because people are getting into him, the Yang Gang is catching fire, definitely on the internet. So he's hanging in there. But with that said, I don't know if he's at 2 or 3%. So it's not helping. He's not a contender. Not yet. He's not in that top four. So moving on. People mad. Oh, let's start my egg up. I don't want to go over. I might go over talking about this. People mad at Dave Chappelle. They've been mad at him for a minute. I bring this up because I think that his special was one of the best specials I've probably ever seen from him or any other comedian. Now, I study comedians. I've gotten to comedians for years. Some of my favorite comedians, or my favorite comedian is George Carlin. He's number one. Richard Pryor. And then I would go into like your Dave Chappelle's, Rudy Ray Moore, Red Fox. I like those guys. A lot of those old school comedians, but I really, really love George Carlin. And I like George Carlin because his social commentary was great. I mean, he had bits that were just so informative and really spoke a lot about America. He had a bit called NIMBY, not in my backyard. He talked about how, people like, oh, we need more prisons, build more prisons, but not in my backyard. I don't want it around me. And he said he never understood. He said, why are people, tripping about that? He said, if you got a prison in your backyard, prisoners escape. They're not hanging around. He said they getting as far away from that place as they can. So why are people tripping in the prisons in their backyard? But that's true. That's how America is. People say, oh, we need more group homes. We got to get these troubled youth off the street. NIMBY, but not in my backyard. Because people don't want to bring their property values down. Because everything in this country goes back to what? Money. Welcome to a capitalist society. Now, I'm not hating on that because I understand as a homeowner, you don't want something crazy next to your house bringing your property value down, then you go to sell, you can't get nothing for it. And how about this? People want to feel safe in their homes. I understand that too, but I also understand that NIMBY is a real thing and that's silly. To trip about a group home in your neighborhood or whatever. Come on, man. You know what I'm saying? We need those. Actually, those are good for the community because those kids got to go somewhere. Somebody got to deal with these youth. So why would you have a problem with that in your backyard? So we got to get off of that in this country. But that was a bit he had I thought was hilarious. He had all types of stuff that he would talk. His social commentary was just a bomb. And that leads me to Dave Chappelle. His social commentary is the bomb. I like how Dave Chappelle goes on record as saying he doesn't do political humor. He said, I don't talk about politics in my humor. But with all this stuff going on with Trump and all this, the best and most poignant thing I ever heard came from him on Saturday Night Live. When he did that little monologue, and then I see the behind the scenes for it, they said that they just gave him carte blanche. They said, you just do whatever. Do whatever. We got 11 minutes here, Dave. Just hit the stage and say whatever you want to say. Do whatever you want to do. And what he said and did was pitch perfect. And I'll never forget the line that he said. What he say? He said, so we're asking you, Trump. He said, you know what I'm saying? What'd he say? We're asking you, Trump, to give us, talking about black people, what'd he say? The historically disenfranchised a chance. He said, and we'll do the same for you. And that was good stuff. Now, getting to where we are today, it didn't play out like that because this guy done just acted a monkey. But whatever. The point is, he went up there and he said some words, and basically all them words were saying is, dude, we don't feel you all like that. But if you do good for this country, you do a good job, we'll have nothing but accolades for you. Like I said, it didn't go that way. But I like the fact that he was able to frame it in a comedic way, make light of it, make a joke of it, but it was still pitch perfect, and he was still dead on point with what he said. That guy's he's a master of his craft. He's a genius. So the fact that people get mad at his new special, it's funny because he even opened up talking about that. He said, I don't do specials like this anymore. He said, because people get on the internet and they talk about what I said and they berate me and defame me or whatever and say that I'm so horrible and egregious. He said, you know who does that? You people. Y'all do that. Talking about the audience. Talking about us watching. And he's right. That's what we do. People get on the internet and everybody's a critic. You don't want to get on there and be mad that he said this or mad that he said that. And then I'm watching the Young Turks, and they went in on him, basically, saying that Dave Chappelle says this stuff and he assumes that everybody feels the same way that he does. I think on some level, most people do feel the same way that he does. But they won't even admit it to their friends these days. They won't even admit it to themselves these days because they think it makes them a bad person. It doesn't. A lot of times, I've thought, and my little sister even said to me, Ed, you should go into stand-up comedy. You should be a stand-up comedian. But I think, especially these days, some of the stories I would tell, some of the things I would say, I would be banned from stages, because times have changed. And everybody's sensitive, and you run the risk of stepping on so many toes. It's ridiculous. And the fact that this guy is a comedian, his job is to be funny. His job is to make light of situations, and people still get attitudes. They still get upset. They still want to boycott. All of that stuff. That's just ridiculous. And like I said, that was one of the best specials that I've seen from him, or probably any other comedian. I mean, it was just really, 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 really good. And if you haven't seen it, you should see it. Was it Dave Chappelle Sticks and Stones on Netflix? It's amazing. It was just a good special. You know what I'm saying? There's people out there ain't feeling it or whatever. There's a hole in your soul if you ain't feeling that special because it's funny. You know what I'm saying? And Dave Chappelle, he's talented like that. And that's what the way that he talked about the letter people, and he was talking about the LGBTQ plus NB community. I hope I'm saying that right. And that's what's up. You know what I'm saying? And guess what? You can poke fun at anything. If he can poke fun at black people, he can poke fun at white people. He also, what did he say in that comedy special? He talked about, he said, I poke fun at poor white and poor black people. He said, because I know what it feels like to be poor. He said, and I know the only difference between poor white people and poor black people is that poor white people feel like it shouldn't be happening to them. I was done. Because that's the truth, man. That's real, like. I think that black people get to the point where they feel like, well, I'm black, I'm supposed to be broke. Everybody else I know is broke who's black, so we just black and broke. So you know what I'm saying? It's kind of settle into that, like, well, whatever. We're gonna try to get out. We'll play the lottery and do some quick money, some quick rich things. But this is just how it is. We're just gonna go ahead and settle into this. And that's a shame, but it's hilarious too to think that, to think that like that, like, wow, you know what I'm saying? But it is kind of like that, but if you haven't seen it, see the special. Moving on. Let me move on to talk about this lady, man. I actually had looked her up here on the computer because she is big stuff in her field. Her name is Rebecca Mackey, Makkai. Can't look it up. Anyway, she wants people to stop wearing red hats because she said it's or the red MAGA style hat. Said it's scaring people. When I read this article, I was tripping because I was like, this is the reason people don't like liberals. This is the reason Trump is president. My conservative friend was saying to me, he said, you talk to a lot of people, they don't like Trump, but they do like the fact that he's a strong guy. He's a tough guy. He never backs down. He never walks anything back. He never kowtows to anybody. He's strong. And people like that show of strength. Even if it's coming from a moron, it's still a show of strength. And then people don't like this, this is mad snowflake-ish right here. Talking about you don't want people to wear a red hat because it reminds you of the MAGA hat? Come on. That's ridiculous. That is so stupid. That's just dumb. So I guess she doesn't want people to wear a 49ers hat, because I'm pretty sure the 49ers hat is red. So you don't want people to wear that because it reminds you of a MAGA hat? I'm a Buckeye. You know what I'm saying? I'm from the you know what I'm saying, Buckeye country. OH and a dime. We got red hats for days around here. You know what I'm saying? That's our colors. You know, so crimson and gray. Crimson is red. Color of blood. You know, it's red. So we're supposed to stop wearing our Buckeye hats because they remind you of a MAGA hat? That is stupid. That's ridiculous. We got to get off of that. You know, how you going to dictate what somebody wears because it reminds you of something that upsets you. And stop being upset by a hat. It's a hat. There was a time in this country where people could have different political views and people didn't just go nuts about it. Let it go. I understand. MAGA hats are the new KKK guard. Sure. I'll give you that. And how about this? I don't disagree with that. But at the same time, if someone wants to wear that MAGA hat, that is their right. Let them wear it. Let them wear it. And that's fine. They over there eating their meal, wearing their MAGA hat. Let that go, man. Let that go. Because you know what that's called? Political discourse. And that's fine. You know what I'm saying? Everybody doesn't agree with everybody. That's fine. Some people want to support somebody who you think, and me too, think is a raving lunatic and a racist. That is their business. And this is America. So they can support that person. And guess what? A lot of people support that person. You know what I'm talking about. For a lot of different reasons. And that doesn't, just because he's racist doesn't necessarily make them racist either. Some of these people are just Republicans. So there's that. And one doesn't equal the other, believe it or not. All right, moving on. I wanted to tell a little story. It leads me into this story. This was something. I'm listening to NPR, and they were talking about, let me make sure my time is good. They were talking about this guy. His name was Russ. He was the president of a Democratic club in South Bend, Indiana. And a lot of his South Bend members, they were, it was a bar that everybody would come to, and it was like a Democratic club, though, at this bar. And everybody was there one night, and they were watching a Trump rally on TV, and who did they see but Russ, the president of their club, at the Trump rally. And needless to say, you know, he got kicked out of the club, which I was like, dang, that was kind of harsh, but he was president of a Democratic club, and he was at a Trump rally. I mean, that's a lot. So they kicked him out the club, but he still would continue to come to the bar and run karaoke. Because he was from the neighborhood, and a lot of people who came to the bar were friends of his. He knew everybody. That was something that he did and he liked to do. So he would still keep coming up there and doing that. And they had just talked about how it caused such a division within this club. And they were saying that, I think one of the last things they said when I was listening to the story, which was like, dang. They talked about how the membership went from 1,000 members to 300 members. So now they went from 1,000 to 300, and the one guy said, I don't know what happened to all the people. He said, I wish they would come back. But I think a lot of these people were just turned off just by the division in politics. Turned off by the fact that, I mean, hey, I understand this guy, Russ. He was president of a Democratic club, and you at a Trump rally. Okay, that's egregious. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of issues with this administration, or who have a lot of issues with this administration and things that they've done. But we shouldn't let it get personal. And that's a lot easier said than done, because a lot of this stuff is personal. You know, when you see kids in cages, which Barack Obama, I don't know if he had kids in cages, but he did a lot of deporting. He was the deporter in chief, so there's that. But he was cooler with the media, so it wasn't all over the media. So when you see that stuff on TV, you know, it tugs at your heartstrings. You take issue with that, I understand. When this president is talking about, you know, brown and black countries, calling them, you know, ish-hole countries, okay, you take issue with that. I understand that. I understand all of that. But at the same time, people are allowed to support what they support. People are allowed to like what they like. People are allowed to disagree with you. And just because somebody disagrees with you, I don't think that should be the ending of a friendship. I don't think that should be the kicking them out of a club. No, I'm not going to lie. He's the president of the Democratic Club. Maybe we talk about him not being the president of the club anymore, because obviously he ain't a Democrat. If you at a Trump rally, unless you there giving opposition or something like that, which opposition at Trump rally, but I mean, unless you there doing something like that, you are not a Democrat. So maybe you shouldn't be the president of the Democratic Club. But I don't think you should be kicked out of the club, and I don't think people should be like, oh, he can't come to the bar anymore and run the karaoke because he was at a Trump rally. I mean, that's just ridiculous. And to think that their membership went from 1,300 is stuff like that. People don't like the division. People don't like that. They don't like what I just mentioned. You know, nobody enjoys this. People don't like that. People don't like going to a place and saying that I'm a Republican, and then people look at you crazy. And then people don't like you like they used to. They don't talk to you like they used to. You know, they look at you sideways or whatever. People don't like that. Same way people don't like going somewhere and saying, yeah, I'm liberal. I voted for Barack Obama 2 times. And then the looks they get. You know, now my aunt don't talk to me no more. Now my uncle don't want to have nothing to do with me no more. He found out that I'm a liberal. He said I'm a big lib. Like all those people in Hollywood. I'm a big lib. Oh, they don't want to talk to me no more. They say I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. You know, I'm a Republican. They don't like me anymore. This is ridiculous. This is damn ridiculous in this country. There was a time when people could have differing political views and still be cool. Like I said, I have friends who are Republicans, and some of them, some issues I agree with, but most I don't. But guess what? So what? Still a good friend. I still love him or her to death. They just vote a different way than I do. They just believe in different policies than what I believe in. Candace Owens, I went on record as dissing her on this show, you know, because she said some things I did not agree with. But she was with Killer Mike. I know you all have seen that. She said some things and that I did agree with. There's that. But you know what? Anybody down the line, from Ronald Reagan to Ron Paul to Newt Gingrich, if I start reading off some things or some policies or whatever they support, I bet I'd rub a couple of y'all spots. I bet I'd push a couple of y'all's buttons. You'd be like, no, I agree with that too. I agree with that too. Same here. I agree with that too. I agree with that too. So, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, the truth is where you find it. Section 8. Section 8. There's people out there living on Section 8 right now. Section 8 was invented by Mitt Romney's father. I've said that on this show countless times. Just to let you know, there's a time when Republicans had a heart. And, you know, after the guy we got now, I definitely feel George Bush Jr. on that kinder, gentler conservatism. Kinder, gentler conservatism. That's exactly what that was. That's exactly what, you know, because this guy... Anyway, moving on. We can really call him a conservative. Moving on. Speaking of this guy, it's all the rage in the news right now. People going nuts that looks like he asked the Ukraine 8 different times to see if they would investigate Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. It's ridiculous. It's led to an impeachment inquiry. It's led to an impeachment inquiry. Got to put that caveat on there. People are like, oh, it's led to an impeachment inquiry. Inquiry means questions. So here we are going down this road again, like the stuff I talked about at the beginning of the show. You got to have an inquiry. Now we have to talk to people. Now we have to get their testimony on stuff that we already know is true. Why can't we just act on what we know is true and go ahead and impeach the mother? But anyway, like girls. But no, we can't do that. We got to have an impeachment inquiry. So we'll see where this inquiry goes. It doesn't look good. It's definitely a chink in his armor, you know. So there is that. 8 different times. That's sad, you know. And then they were saying there's different foreign entities that he asked, you know, to get involved in the election and do stuff on his behalf. That's ridiculous. So they're going to be investigating that. We'll see if this leads to an impeachment. It'd be nice. I doubt it. I was reading somewhere and they were saying too, just because you impeach a president doesn't mean they stop being president. So that's something to think about too. Even if you impeach Trump and he ends up going into, you know, the lame duck status that he'll probably end up going into anyway, because we're about to have an election here in 2020. What will that mean? There are other Republicans who do want to run against Trump. I think George will. There's another guy. He's Republican light. I'm Republican light. He's Trump light. He's a jerk like Trump. I can't remember his name, but he's also running against Trump, you know, on the Republican ticket. So we'd have to see what happens. You know, would the Trumpeters prevail and Trump just be the guy who you know, is last man standing among that primary? Or would either of these other two guys rise up and take the reins. We'll see what happens. George Will, I actually dig him. He's not too bad. You know what I'm saying? He's a moderate Republican, I think. So there's that. We'll see what happens with that. But it just gets on my nerves how here we are. This guy has once again blatantly done something guilty, and we have to have an investigation. There has to be an inquiry into whether impeachment is necessary. Really? Anyway, you know what I'm saying? I mean, come on. When do you stop giving a person the benefit of the doubt and just see them for what they are and what they've said? I don't know. Welcome to America. But anyway, we're moving on swiftly. Let me move. Next, I want to talk about Bill Maher. Bill Maher. He's got Real Time with Bill Maher on HBO. It's a great show. I like it. Political, politics, good stuff. He'll have a guest on there and stuff. And he did a bit a while ago. He'll do a bit where he just talks to the camera and just expresses, a thought that he's had about what's going on or whatever. And he talked about saying fat shaming should come back, and said that the only thing bad about fat shaming is we're not doing enough of it. Because he was saying, Bernie Sanders is talking about healthcare this and healthcare that, but he said, when are we going to deal with the real problem? And the real problem is us Americans, what we put into our bodies. The fact that now we've made it to where people are comfortable being overweight, and it's something that's glorified. Now, I remember way back in the day when this whole hip hop thing was first starting, two of my favorite groups. One was Run DMC, and everybody's a Run DMC fan. You know what I'm saying? Run DMC, they like, legends in hip hop. So I loved Run DMC. I bought their album, Raising Hell. And then I also loved the Fat Boys, All You Can Eat. I used to love the Fat Boys. The Fat Boys and Run DMC. And I remember back in the day that, even my dad with the Fat Boys was like, I don't think that's healthy, glorifying being overweight and blah, 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 blah. I mean, this was back then. This was, early 80s or something like that, or late 80s, early 90s, Fat Boys. But, and they did have songs like All You Can Eat, where the dude went to that was the thing, he talked about how he went to the salad bar and he ate all the food and he got thrown in jail or whatever, but he didn't care because, he still get, all you can eat. I mean, that's hilarious when I look back on it. But then to bring it to now, you have people who are, who literally, they talk bad about fat shaming, and I understand that. That's not cool. We shouldn't be fat shaming. I guess I really didn't even think about it so much, but, so if you've been watching this show for a while, there's a time I did this show, I was a good 100 pounds bigger than I am now. I call it my fat and happy days. I was, some time ago, when I was doing this show on Ustream. And I was bigger then, and this is before I got diagnosed with high blood pressure. And I was probably good, 200, and my biggest, I was probably 265 pounds, but it's 265 pounds of fat, not muscle. And, I was very out of shape, eating what I wanted to. I mean, I was probably eating pizza 4 or 5 days a week. 7-day week, I was eating pizza for dinner 4 or 5, 6 of them days. Just living crazy, drinking what I wanted to, drinking beer every other day, every day. Couple times a day, every day, and not being healthy at all. Never eating a vegetable, never eating a fruit, never drinking any water. And sure enough, I got diagnosed with high blood pressure. I was in the hospital. It was an ordeal. And then